It says the very early morning. It's 2:54 a.m. See that? And I'm having a tough time sleeping. And the reason I'm having a tough time sleeping is because we've got somebody in the White House that needs to be put into a mental institution or an old folks home. We saw that clearly demonstrated when he was roaming around in China. He didn't even know where he was. He was just walking, like in the days. It's scary, folks. What's our vice president doing? Didn't he swear an oath to the Constitution? Isn't the 25th Amendment part of the Constitution? What Donald Trump's done is he surrounded himself with yes men, like little Marco, Jeanine Pirro. I mean, cross-eyed Kash Patel, totally worthless Peter Hesketh, the Secretary of War. He knows they'll do his bidding. But what's frightening is that the Vice President, J.D. Vance, is doing nothing to protect this country. And he did swear an oath to the Constitution. The 25th Amendment is part of the Constitution. To be honest with you, I think that it's just a matter of time before Jeffrey Epstein gets Donald Trump from the grave. I don't know who has those photographs that Michael Wolff keeps talking about. You know, the ones with shot spots on his pants. Why would a man ejaculate having prepubescent girls sitting on his lap, topless, if he wasn't a pedophile? It's just a matter of time before those photographs surface, whether they're in the possession of the Epstein estates or whether they're in the possession of the Attorney General. Eventually, they'll surface. And eventually, Trump will be exposed for what I believe he is. I think he knows he's like a cornered rat, and I think his plan is to take the entire world with him. Why do I think that? Well, this article here has me pretty much convinced of that. This is put up by the Washington Post. You see a photograph of that fat slob on Air Force One giving one of these. I guess he's proud he made it to the top of the stairs, huh? All right, so what's this article about? Trump directs Pentagon to test nuclear weapons for first time since 1992. The president said he wanted testing to occur on an equal basis with Russia and China just before he met with Chinese counterparts for high-stakes trade talks. This is the dealmaker that went bankrupt 6 times. Big, well, I shouldn't say big, short, fat slob. This is written by Natalie Allison, Kat Zarowski, Katrina Northrup, and Adam Taylor. Gyeongju, South Korea. President Donald Trump on Thursday morning said he directed the Pentagon to begin testing nuclear weapons on an equal basis with Russia and China, an apparent attempt to flex the United States military might ahead of a high-stakes trade meeting here with the Chinese counterpart Jinping. They're going to go punish the world again by detonating nuclear bombs all over the goddamn place. Trump's announcement on Truth Social signaled a reversal of decades of the United States nuclear policy that could have far-reaching consequences for relations with U.S. adversaries. Though its post includes very few details about what the test would entail, the last nuclear weapon test in the United States was held in 1992. before President H.W. Bush implemented a moratorium on such exercises at the conclusion of the Cold War. I wonder if George Bush, H.W. Bush, would have been a fighter pilot fighting Germans instead of fighting in the Pacific. I don't think he would have fought Germans because I think they're all Nazis, like Prescott Bush the first and the second. Prescott Bush II was president of Union Bank, and he helped finance the Nazi war machine. And George W. Bush, he deserted the National Guard, yet he became commander-in-chief. Trump wrote that the process would begin immediately and was in response to other countries' testing programs. So you think maybe all those other nuclear countries are going to do the same, like Israel, Turkey, Pakistan? The president posted about resuming nuclear weapons testing as his helicopter, Marine One, was in the air on his way to meet Jing at Guma Air Base. When that short, fat slob flies anywhere, he takes all of his crap with him. He's got Marine One there. He's got his Cadillacs there. I mean, the thing's insane. You have no idea how much it costs for that dope to go anywhere. White House officials did not respond to requests for comments about what the United States nuclear weapon testing program would involve, and Trump told reporters after his meeting with Xi that details would be forthcoming. It'll be announced. We have test sites, Trump said. It'll be announced. Keep us in suspense, you dope. But Trump gave no indication that he had spoken with Xi about China's growing nuclear program during a meeting he described as amazing. Yeah, everything's amazing, like his MRI results were amazing, which he said resulted in a one-year trade agreement amid the month-long tariff war with China. When asked, Trump did not explain why he posted the announcement when he did. Russia on Wednesday announced that it has successfully tested a nuclear-powered super torpedo called Poseidon and praised a successful test of a nuclear-powered cruise missile just 3 days before. So far, however, Putin has abstained from testing a nuclear weapon or carrying out nuclear detonations. Well, that's going to change soon, isn't it? Well, Trump said he would direct the Department of War to conduct a test. The Department of Energy is the entity responsible for nuclear testing. You'd think the dope would know that. The first Trump administration discussed conducting a nuclear test explosion in 2020. And a senior administration official told the Washington Post at the time that demonstrating the United States could conduct a test would be a useful negotiation tool with Beijing and Moscow. But such an escalation could undermine Trump's recent moves to cement himself as the peace president, as he campaigns globally for the Nobel Peace Prize and to soothe the tension with the United States' main geopolitical rival. Well, he didn't get the Peace Prize, and he's not the peace president. Trump, nevertheless, suggested after his meeting with Jinping that his ultimate goal was for nuclear powers to lay down their arms. I think de-escalation, they would call it, denuclearization, would be a tremendous thing, Trump told reporters on Air Force One. We're actually talking to Russia about that, and China would be added to that if we do something. So you're talking about denuclearization, yet you're talking about blowing up atomic weapons because you've authorized that moron at the Pentagon, who used to be an evening weekend host on Fox. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Now you know why I don't sleep. Trump's nuclear testing announcement alarmed arms control experts who said it was unnecessary and escalatory. The United States has no technical, military, or political reason to resume nuclear explosion testing, said Daryl Kimball, executive director of the Arms Control Association. Kimball added that the National Nuclear Security Administration, the federal agency that oversees testing, was not equipped to immediately restart testing, and that it would need at least 36 months to resume contained nuclear testing underground at the former test sites in Nevada. The vast majority of the agency's employees are furloughed due to the government shutdown, in contrast to past government funding lapses when these workers were deemed essential to government operations. Trump zeroed in on China's growing nuclear capabilities, as independent analysis say Beijing is among the largest and most rapid modernization campaign of the 9 countries known to have nuclear weapons. It is his Truth Social post, Trump said that Beijing is currently a distant third in its number of nuclear weapons to Russia and the United States, but that it would be even within 5 years. A distant third? You don't need a whole lot of atomic bombs to blow up the entire world, you moron. The Department of Defense estimated last year that China will surpass 1,000 warheads by 2030. A number still considerably behind both the U.S. and Russia, which has been estimated to have 3,700 and 4,300 respectively. Despite Pentagon data showing Russia has more, Trump on Thursday repeatedly claimed that the United States had the world's largest stockpile of nuclear weapons. There have been more than 2,000 nuclear test explosions around the world since 1945, but most countries stopped nuclear testing in 1990. China's last nuclear explosion occurred in 1996, and Moscow's was in 1990, during the dying days of the Soviet Union. The rare exception was the most recent nuclear test conducted by North Korea at Pariah State in 2017. Many nations, including the United States, Russia, and China, are signatories to the 1996 Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, which prohibits any nuclear weapon test explosion or any other nuclear explosion. However, the treaty never went into effect because several key countries, including the United States, did not ratify it. There have also been allegations of significant breaches, with one senior U.S. official stating during the first Trump administration that Russia had probably conducted secret tests of low-yield nuclear weapons. Trump's announcement was likely in response to recent testing of new nuclear delivery systems, including the Poseidon and a nuclear-powered cruise missile, and could prompt Beijing to accelerate nuclear research, said Tong Zhu, a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace and an expert on U.S. nuclear relations. If the United States indeed begins developing similar nuclear delivery technology, there's a significant chance that Beijing would follow suit, he said. Continued Russian progress in parallel U.S. development could further incentivize China to accelerate its own research programs to avoid being left behind. It may also have influenced the tenure of the high-stakes meeting between Xi and Trump. Trump probably doesn't even remember he had a meeting with Ping. Chinese officials were likely shocked by Trump's announcement, says Lyle Morris, an expert on China's military at the Asia Society Poly Institute. It came out of nowhere. Everything comes out of nowhere because he's got sparks going off between his ears. Doesn't look like surprises before a major summit meeting. It adds a distraction that the Chinese certainly didn't see coming. Chinese Foreign Minister spokesman Gu Jung responded to the announcement Thursday, saying that Beijing hopes the United States will earnestly abide by its obligation under the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty and take concrete actions to uphold the international nuclear disarmament and non-proliferation regime. But according to Trump, the very friendly meeting went so well that Trump agreed to visit China in April. What a joke. He's going to go visit China in April. He won't be here in April. And Beijing to visit the United States later next year. Trump said it remains undetermined, however, whether that will include a visit to Washington or to Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida. So now you know why I don't sleep. It's totally insane. This guy's out of control. And like I said, if we had a real vice president, he would exercise the 25th Amendment and get this moron out of office. But having him in the Oval Office, I don't think it's a whole lot better because we're going to have Peter Thiel along with him. You think not? Well, think whatever the hell you like. I do. I'll attach the link. Pass it along, and thanks for listening.